There are 16 types of chocolate in the world, and I guarantee at least 3 of them will completely change how you think about what chocolate actually is. Some were invented by accident, some were born from war, and one of them, technically not even chocolate at all. Let's get into it. Dark chocolate. Dark chocolate is the oldest of the modern types, and it started as something most of you wouldn't recognize. The Aztecs drank pure cocoa mixed with chili peppers. No sugar, no milk, no sweetness whatsoever. And it wasn't a casual thing. This drink was reserved for warriors and priests. If you weren't one of those, you didn't get a sip. They called it Zocolotl, and they believed it was a gift from the gods. Here's what's wild. Modern science actually backs up some of that reverence. The higher the cocoa content, the less sugar, and the more flavonoids, compounds linked to lower blood pressure, better blood flow, and heart health. The paradox is that what seems less enjoyable might actually be the healthiest thing in the chocolate aisle. Milk chocolate. Milk chocolate was invented in 1875 by Daniel Peter, a Swiss chocolatier who spent 8 long years trying to mix milk with cocoa without the fat separating. 8 years of failed experiments. He finally cracked the code thanks to his neighbor, Henri Nestlé, who had recently developed condensed milk. That partnership changed the world. Milk chocolate today accounts for more than half of all the chocolate consumed on the planet. But there's a catch the industry prefers to keep quiet about, and the next type will make that very clear. White chocolate. Technically, white chocolate isn't really chocolate. It doesn't contain cocoa solids, none of the compounds that give cocoa its signature flavor, its bitterness, its color. It's made only from cocoa butter, sugar, and milk. For decades, countries like the United States didn't even allow the product to be legally called white chocolate. And here's the part that might change how you see it forever. It was created by Nestlé in the 1930s specifically to use up excess cocoa butter left over from production. In other words, it's a byproduct that got rebranded into a product. A waste reduction strategy that became a billion-dollar category. Ruby chocolate. For 80 years, the world had exactly 3 types of chocolate: dark, milk, and white. Nobody thought a 4th was even possible. Then, in 2017, Barry Callebaut, the largest chocolate manufacturer most people have never heard of, dropped a bombshell. A 4th type. The first new chocolate in 8 decades. No dyes, no artificial additives. The pink color comes entirely from a specific fermentation and drying process applied to ruby cocoa beans, a special variety grown in Ecuador, Ivory Coast, and Brazil. The flavor is described as fruity with a slight natural acidity, unlike anything else in the chocolate world. If you haven't tried it yet, put it on your list. It's one of those things you need to taste to believe. Unsweetened chocolate. This is the ingredient, not the finished product. Almost 100% cocoa with no sugar added at all. Bitter to the point where most people can't eat it straight. But here's the thing. It's the starting point for every great chocolate dessert. Cakes, truffles, mousses, brownies. They all begin here. I dare you. Take a small piece of unsweetened chocolate and let it melt on your tongue. It will completely rewire what you think you know about flavor, and it's exactly this raw intensity that every other type on this list tries to tame. Bittersweet chocolate. Bittersweet is the middle ground between unsweetened chocolate and regular dark chocolate. It has at least 35% cocoa solids and just enough sugar to make the taste enjoyable without losing that deep, complex richness. Professional pastry chefs love it for ganaches, toppings, and molten cakes because it balances bold flavor with reliable technical performance. It melts evenly and sets more predictably than chocolates loaded with sugar. Semi-sweet chocolate. If you've ever made chocolate chip cookies, and be honest, who hasn't at least once, you've used semi-sweet chocolate. It's slightly sweeter than bittersweet, with cocoa content between 35% and 65%. The line between the two isn't strict at all. In the US, they're both classified under the same regulatory category. In practice, semi-sweet is the most versatile chocolate for home baking. It works in brownies, truffles, frostings, and dipping without needing precise technique. It's forgiving, and that's why recipes default to it. Couverture chocolate. The name is French and means covering, and that tells you exactly what it's built for. What sets Couverture apart isn't the flavor, but the texture. It contains between 31% and 38% cocoa butter, far more than what's common in regular chocolate. And this changes everything. It melts right at body temperature, forms a thin, perfectly even coating, and hardens with that satisfying, shiny snap you find in gourmet bonbons. Next time you bite into a handmade chocolate and wonder why it feels completely different from a gas station candy bar, Couverture is the answer, and it's exactly why it costs more. Compound chocolate. Now here's the opposite end of the spectrum. Compound chocolate is the kind fast food chains and industrial bakeries love, but real chocolatiers look down on it. Instead of cocoa butter, it uses hydrogenated vegetable fat. The result is a cheaper product that's more stable across temperatures and doesn't require tempering, the delicate heating and cooling process that gives real chocolate its shine. The taste and texture are noticeably different. It's what coats your ice cream bars, sandwich cookies, and waffle cones. It works, but once you know the difference, you'll start noticing it everywhere. Gianduja. This one's origin story reads like a spy novel. Born in Turin, Italy in 1806, Gianduja was a direct result of Napoleon blocking cocoa imports to weaken England, which controlled the cocoa trade at the time. The pastry chefs of Piedmont, suddenly cut off from their main ingredient, got creative. They stretched whatever cocoa they had left by mixing it with the local hazelnuts that grew abundantly in the region. The result, born completely by accident from a geopolitical power move, was Gianduja, the direct precursor to Nutella. A trade war sanction ended up creating one of the most beloved flavors in human history. Let that sink in. Raw chocolate. The idea behind raw chocolate is simple and appealing. Roasting cocoa at high temperatures destroys some of its natural polyphenols and antioxidants, the very compounds that make cocoa healthy. By processing it below 42 degrees Celsius, you theoretically keep more of those nutrients intact. But the catch is real. The flavor changes drastically. It's earthier, more acidic, and far less familiar than roasted chocolate. Supporters say it's purer and more nutritious. Critics argue that the raw label is misleading, since fermentation, a required step, naturally generates temperatures well above that 42 degrees Celsius limit. So is it really raw? It's tricky, and the debate isn't settled. Vegan chocolate. Most dark chocolates with high cocoa content are naturally vegan since they contain no milk. The real challenge is recreating milk and white chocolates without dairy, since those types rely on it for creaminess and flavor. Vegan versions use oat, almond, or coconut milk, each one changing the flavor profile in its own distinct way. In the last 5 years, the vegan chocolate market has grown over 14% per year worldwide, and that number is still accelerating. The next type is the complete opposite: maximum richness, zero compromises. Bean-to-bar chocolate. In the mainstream chocolate industry, manufacturers buy pre-processed cocoa paste or butter from suppliers. But in bean-to-bar, the same maker does everything. They source the beans themselves, then ferment, roast, peel, refine, and mold them. The result is a product with terroir, just like wine. A bean-to-bar chocolate from Ecuador tastes nothing like one made with beans from Vietnam or Tanzania. The soil, the climate, the fermentation, it all shows up in the final bar. Think of it as the craft brewery movement, but for chocolate. Blonde chocolate. This one was discovered entirely by accident in 2006 in the kitchen of Chef Frederick Bao at the Valrhona Chocolate School. An assistant forgot a pot of white chocolate on the heat. Instead of burning, the sugars and milk solids slowly caramelized, transforming the white chocolate into something golden with deep flavors of buttery shortbread and salted caramel. Bao recognized what had happened and spent 8 years perfecting the process before Valrhona launched it commercially in 2012 under the name Dulce, a kitchen mistake that took nearly a decade to bring to the world. Dark milk chocolate. For those who find dark chocolate too bitter and milk chocolate too sweet, there's a hybrid that might be your perfect match. Dark milk combines a high cocoa content, usually between 45% and 65%, with milk. The result is a complex, layered flavor without the extreme bitterness that turns some people off of dark chocolate. It's the fastest growing category among chocolate enthusiasts who are migrating away from milk chocolate but aren't ready to give up the creaminess. If you haven't explored this middle ground, start here. So here's the takeaway. Chocolate has never been just something sweet. Behind every single bar, there's history, chemistry, happy accidents, trade wars, and deliberate industry choices that most people never think about. From the Aztec sacred ritual drink to handmade bean-to-bar crafted with terroir. From white chocolate invented to use up waste to ruby chocolate. Launched as the first new type in 80 years. Every chocolate on this list exists for a reason, and now you know those reasons. So, which one are you picking? Drop a comment telling me your favorite and which type surprised you the most. And if you enjoy videos like this, where everyday things turn out to have incredible stories behind them, hit like and subscribe because there are plenty more foods with histories just as wild as this one.